Hey, it's Doug from Rise Above Performance Training. And are you stuck with plantar fasciitis pain? Well, I have some other things that may help you out from the traditional protocols that they give you to relieve plantar fasciitis pain. Let's check it out. So with plantar fasciitis pain, it's a pain on the bottom of the foot. It's usually a kind of a constant throbbing pain, and people find it difficult to stand, especially in the morning or running. Maybe throughout the day it gets a little bit better, but that pain is consistently there, and it kind of comes on in the morning and maybe goes away towards the afternoon. It's pretty chronic. It lasts for a long time. So just for basic knowledge, the back of the leg travels downward, and kind of the muscles from the calf go into a tendon, the Achilles tendon, which fan underneath the bottom of the foot. When everything gets tight and pulls up, that fan flattens out and makes it very tight, and that's when you get the plantar fasciitis. Traditional plantar fasciitis remedies are usually to stretch the back of the leg, hamstrings and calves. So recently I have a little bit of bout of plantar fasciitis, and it's been so long since I had it previously. During my soccer years I had it and I was able to remedy it. But recently I got it maybe 2 months ago, and I had it for maybe a good 3 weeks. I'd say a pain level of 3 out of 10, and it would go away. So it wasn't severe. And I was doing the traditional things like stretching my calves and stretching my hamstrings, and it wasn't working. I just noticed, and I was doing a lot of ankle mobility as well. And it just wasn't working for me. So I was like, what are some other options that I can do? And usually when something doesn't work one way, I flip everything around and try the opposite. So we're gonna work on the rotators and the front of the leg. And to be honest, it worked well for me. I got rid of it within probably a week. After 2 days of doing it, the pain was pretty much gone. It would come up maybe later in the day, but now, knock on wood, I don't really have plantar fasciitis pain. I still run and lift and do all those things. So I'm gonna show you the 3 things that I did to help remedy the situation that are not traditional. So first, we're gonna do a little kind of self-myofascial release. I just have all this equipment here. You can do it on the floor as well. Just for the sake of the video, I'm gonna be upright. Now this is a kind of a foam rolling ball. And what I did to start, especially before my workouts and a couple times throughout the day, was to place this on my thigh. And I like the ball because it rolls in many directions. So I was just rolling my hip back and forth, warming up the side of the leg, a little bit of the hamstring, a little bit of the quad, and a little bit of like the vastus lateralis, which is on the side. And what I like, I can move this. So I move this to the outer hip, getting way up high, move it to the glute, roll around, shift around. So I would do this for a minute or so. I wouldn't be too aggressive. All I wanted to do was just warm up the tissue, hydrate the tissue without causing too much pain. And then when I was done, that was the first thing I would do. Then I would go onto the platform. And again, you can do this on the floor. See if my ball stays put. And I would just do some undulating stretching. So I would shift to the side, shift forward, back, shift around. And I'm just warming up the hip and the muscles around and the joint itself, trying to get the hip as loose as possible. So the hip is the primary junction for a lot of muscles. If they get tight, they can cause a lot of pain up and down the chain. So I just started out with the hip to see if that would help out, and that did bring some relief. Next, what I did was I decided to stretch the front. There is a muscle on the lateral or outside portion of the shin. The inside portion is all bone, but the lateral portion is the anterior tibialis. So again, a lot of times we stretch out the calves by stepping off a heel and dropping our heels and stretching out the back of the leg. I wanted to stretch the front. So what I did is I just kind of held on to something and I put my toe down and I did pulses forward and back. So I'm dropping my body with my toes down. I wouldn't be too aggressive. Again, if you're too aggressive with stretching and it's too painful, your body's going to react and not want to help you. So if you coax it into releasing, that is going to be the best remedy for a lot of these problems. So I would just pulse forward. I'd change the angle a little bit, toe, kind of rotate the foot outward a little. I'd rotate the foot inward. I just wanted to stretch this out. So again, what happens is if the hip is tight and then the front is tight, it's going to pull this foot up a little bit. Not noticeable, but the foot will be tighter here when this muscle's tight, because that's what that muscle does. Now, if I just stretch the calf, I'm essentially doing the same thing as that muscle is doing. I'm stretching the same direction. So that helped me out by lengthening that and relaxing everything. So open this up and open up my hip. Next, I was going to open up my hip flexors. So the hip flexors are, generically the quad that goes up into the high hip. So by releasing the quad, again, it's going to help this posterior. So if this is tight here, so let's say the muscle shortens, it's tight. The muscles in the posterior portion are lengthened and long and weak. So I don't want to lengthen them more by stretching. I have to stretch the front to help bring these back to neutral. So again, we're going to focus on the front. So what I did was, you can use even your couch at home, was I put my foot up on a box and I was upright, and then I started pulsing back. You can put a pillow down, find the right angle too for your leg. So I started pulsing backwards. So the pulsing backwards is going to get in these quads here, the four muscle up on the front of the thigh. Then what I do, I'd actually go forward, because the forward is going to stretch up higher in that hip flexor. So when I start going forward a little bit, and then I would do both. I would push back, push forward, push back. And that's lengthening the front or the hip flexor muscles, which in turn help me relax the lengthened muscles in the back of the leg, and it helped out my plantar fasciitis and helped release that tendon to stop being so tense, to just let it relax. And that's essentially what brings you back to neutral from plantar fasciitis. So if you're struggling with it, give these a shot. I would do them, 2 to 3 times during the day. It doesn't take long. I'd say 5 minutes or so. Do it before your workouts. Do it maybe before you go to sleep, and then see if that helps you when you wake up and then when you do your activities during the day. So I want to thank you for joining me. If you like the video, please like it down below. Also consider subscribing. Put a new video out every week. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.